We are turning our attention now to the developing situation over in Tel Aviv, analyzing the latest reporting courtesy of the Associated Press regarding the escalating conflict in the region. The United States and Israel pounded targets across Iran on Sunday, dropping massive bombs on the country's ballistic missile site and wiping out warships as part of a significantly intensified military campaign following the killing of the Iranian supreme leader. The sheer intensity of these blasts rattled windows across the country and sent plumes of smoke rising high into the sky above Tehran. According to Iranian leaders, more than 200 people have been killed since the start of these strikes. However, as the bombardment continued, the conflict has visibly widened beyond the United States, Israel, and Iran, with Iran-supported militant groups in Iraq and Lebanon claiming strikes on Israel and United States bases. Furthermore, Gulf states are issuing warnings that they could retaliate against Iran after strikes that hit key sites and killed at least 5 civilians. The geopolitical scope expanded even further after Britain stated it would allow the United States to use its base as part of the war effort. Subsequently, Cyprus reported that a drone attack targeted a British base on the island. There is a significant amount of information to process as we follow these developments. We also want to bring your attention to a critical update from the Israeli Air Force. A short while ago, they identified that missiles were launched from Iran toward the territory of the State of Israel. Defense systems are currently operating to intercept the threat. In the last few minutes, the Home Front Command issued a preliminary directive directly to mobile phones in the relevant areas. The public is requested to exercise responsibility and act in accordance with the guidelines as they save lives. The directive states that one must enter protected spaces upon receiving the alert and remain in them until a new announcement is made. Exit from the protected space will be permitted only after receiving an explicit directive to do so. It is imperative to continue to act in accordance with the Home Front Command guideline. To understand the reality on the ground, we have insights from Jerusalem and Alex Treyman, the CIO and Jerusalem bureau chief at the Jewish News Syndicate. Reporting live, he noted hearing booms overhead while his family remained inside a bomb shelter in Jerusalem. We are 48 hours removed from those initial strikes on Iran, and the situation on the ground has evolved rapidly. There was a very serious attack yesterday where a ballistic missile struck a home in the Israeli town of Beit Shemesh. Tragically, it killed an entire family, 4 people in the family, and 6 others who were in a nearby bomb shelter. The ballistic missile struck very close to the shelter, causing it to effectively collapse. Additionally, last night there was another ballistic missile incident in the northern section of Jerusalem, right outside the neighborhood of Ramat Shlomo. It hit the main access road to that community and struck a car. Fortunately, the injuries in this specific instance were limited, but the size of the crater left behind is significant. Reports indicate that Iran is utilizing hypersonic missiles as well as missiles equipped with cluster warheads, which are notoriously difficult even for Israel's multi-layer missile defense system to intercept. This war is not only escalating but expanding. Regarding the message from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the IDF, Israeli citizens are being told to remain vigilant. However, observers note that Israelis have become accustomed to this situation over the past 2.5 years. Literally thousands of rockets have been fired at Israel, whether from Gaza, Lebanon, or the Houthis in Yemen. The country has already received hundreds, if not over 1,000, ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and drones from Iran over the past 2.5 years. Consequently, the civilian population was prepared for this moment, especially as it became clear that Iranians were engaged once again in negotiations with President Trump. The general consensus is that every single Israeli knew this attack was inevitable. It was merely a question of exactly when it would occur. As such, the population is braced for this. There is broad support for the IDF and the Prime Minister in participating in this attack, especially given the coordination with the United States Air Force. Civilians are fulfilling their civic duty by staying as close to bomb shelters as possible. The resilience of the population is evident as they continue their lives within the safety guideline, bracing for the days ahead and hoping that the strategic objectives inside Tehran are being met so that this war will be concluded sooner rather than later. To provide our viewers with the necessary context regarding the magnitude of these specific strikes against Iran and the widening nature of this conflict, we must analyze how this moment compares to historical precedents where Israel has been actively involved in regional hostilities. The consensus among experts is that this is definitively the most intensive military engagement we have witnessed so far. While the previous 12-day war was certainly characterized by high intensity, there is a distinct understanding and a palpable palpable appreciation on the ground that we have entered what many consider to be the final battle. During the previous 12-day war, the strategy was markedly different. At that time, Israel exercised restraint, choosing not to target the supreme leader of Iran, and in coordination with the United States, made the strategic decision to leave the Islamic Republic's leadership structure largely in place. The current operational landscape has shifted dramatically. It is evident that the leadership was among the primary targets in this initial wave, along with the top echelons of the Islamic Republic. This signals a clear change in doctrine. Israel, in full coordination with the United States, is committed to seeing this operation through to its absolute conclusion. Consequently, it must be assumed that the Iranian regime will also escalate to the absolute maximum, utilizing every asset at its disposal to attack Israel. From a strategic standpoint, the very reason Iran has spent decades developing these weapons systems was for this precise scenario, specifically to strike Israel during what they likely view as the final moments of the Islamic Republic's existence. There is no doubt that they will deploy their full arsenal. Therefore, the Israeli public is bracing for what is expected to be the most difficult of all battles fought yet. However, this anxiety is coupled with a hope that this will indeed be the last major confrontation. The objective is that with the ushering in of a new era in Iran, one that does not pursue nuclear weapons, ballistic missiles, or the funding of militant proxies, this final conflict could set the stage for decades of peace in a country that has been plagued by war for the last 2.5 years. Staying on this point regarding the cautious optimism that this is the final intense battle with Iran and its various proxy groups, we must look at the specific forms of retaliation Israel is monitoring. The IDF and the Prime Minister are currently weighing threats ranging from direct missile fire and proxy force mobilizations to sophisticated cyber attack. The primary concern for Israel right now centers on ballistic missiles, which are proving to be a severe and dangerous threat. The risk is compounded if Iran successfully launches hypersonic missiles or missiles equipped with cluster warhead. To clarify the danger, a missile with a cluster warhead presents a unique challenge. Even if it is intercepted by the Iron Dome system, the warhead can disperse before interception into many smaller pieces, each carrying limited explosives, allowing them to strike multiple locations simultaneously. Furthermore, hypersonic missiles appear to have capabilities that allow them to evade even sophisticated air defense systems. Beyond conventional kinetic, the greater strategic fear is the potential for non-conventional warfare. There is deep concern regarding whether Iran has managed to utilize its 60% enriched uranium to create a dirty bomb or some form of chemical weapon. The prevailing assessment is that if Iran possesses such capabilities, they will use them now, as there will be no future opportunity to do so. Regarding the potential for a dirty bomb or uranium-based attack, and whether Israeli officials have commented on deterrence against chemical warfare, the reality is stark. It does not appear that there is any room left for traditional deterrence beyond the active military operations the IDF and the United States are currently executing. They are striking every target they have intelligence on. The priority is to eliminate every missile launcher the second it is exposed. These are mobile missile launchers, meaning that the moment the Iranians utilize one, its location is identified. The sophisticated missile defense systems can track these projectiles in the air, calculate their trajectory to determine impact zone, and using that same mathematical data, reverse track to pinpoint the exact launch site. This has triggered a frantic race to neutralize these launchers immediately. Reports indicate that the launchers themselves are the logistical bottleneck. The intelligence assessment is that while Iran may possess as many as 2,500 ballistic missiles, their inventory of launch vehicles is significantly more limited. If Israel can successfully destroy those launchers, they can effectively render the remaining missile stockpiles useless, as Iran will lack the means to fire them. Turning our attention to breaking news entering our newsroom, we are looking at live visuals from a British Air Force base where it has been confirmed that an Iranian attack has taken place. This follows the statement yesterday by British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, pledging aid to the United States in any support needed amid this wider conflict. This highlights the strong relationship between the Israeli Prime Minister and the United States regarding communication with other world leaders and their support for Israel's defense against these Iranian attacks. We have seen indications of a coalition forming. The United Kingdom, alongside Germany and France, has suggested a willingness to participate in defensive measures for allies in the region. However, the operational details of this support remain complex. We are observing activity at a Royal Air Force base in Cyprus, located in the Mediterranean not far from the coast. Additionally, we know that the The USS Gerald Ford is currently docked near Haifa, and the British military utilizes air bases in Cyprus. Despite this, the President of the United States has noted that they do not necessarily require other countries to participate in offensive action. This morning, we received reports of a friendly fire incident where an American F-15 was downed over Kuwait. This underscores the congestion of the airspace. Currently, the two most capable air forces in the region, and arguably the world, the United States and Israel, have already achieved complete air superiority over Iran. There is a valid tactical concern that introducing other air forces into the fray without extremely tight coordination could potentially cause more complications than strategic benefit. Finally, we must address a statement just released by the Iranian security chief, which reads, "We will not negotiate with the United States." While directed at Washington, Israel is implicitly involved in this stand. Regarding the prospects for de-escalation, the analysis suggests we are far past that point. The Iranian regime was given a very forceful warning about the consequences of refusing to negotiate, and we are now witnessing the result of that refusal.